I saw a video that I think a lot of people might like to watch me react to and I guess talk about. It's why are Pokemon games so outdated? And it's like 35 minutes long, so this might be a yapper. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna come out to. Leave a like on the video. Check out the original video in the description section below. Leave a like on that video. And if you have any like feedback, put it in the comment section below. But what I will say before I press play, I do like that like people are more verbal about their like disdain towards recent Pokemon games. And obviously there's still like that backlash from Pokemon fans that are like, oh, you're just not a fan of the game, or oh, I like the game. I don't see why you don't like it. It's like I do love those Pokemon fans who are like, even though I enjoy the game, I can see why you wouldn't like it, or why you wouldn't like, why some or most people would not like it. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like we used to be at a time where you used to like not be able to critique Pokemon games unless everybody hated it. Like when people hated Black and White long time ago, it's so interesting to see how like there was damn near no room for criticism in those games, just for those games to be like people's, oh damn, maybe these are the best games in the series. You know, it's kind of cool to see that now, because we used to not be able to say nothing bad about Pokemon games. And for me, I love Pokemon games, but the more recent ones could definitely have a whole bunch of like quality of life improvements, some graphical updates, a little more time in the microwave or the oven, you know, to get cooked up, you know. But other than that, you know, I still thoroughly enjoy them. I'll play them once or twice. Why not, right? But anywho, these are why are Pokemon games so outdated. I think I might like these. Let me go ahead and put this down a little bit more and let's go.
Pokemon games look like shit, and I want to know why. Cards, cafes, stores, toys, plushies, apparel, movies, anime, home goods, stationery, snacks, food, glue sticks, shampoos, this, that thing. Game Freak have their grubby little hands in literally everything. And when I say Game Freak, yes, I mean Game Freak. Dating back to 1996, Blue and Red are the first instance of the existence of the entity that is Pokemon. And guess who created and owned it at the
time?
time?
Wait, I have a question now, because now that's a good question, because when was the Pokemon Company created? You know, because I think Game Freak is just a side thing, right? When did it start? The Pokemon Company was founded in April 1998 as Pokemon Center Company by Nintendo Creatures and Game Freak, later rebranded to the Pokemon Company in October 2000. So 2 years after the release of Red and Blue is when these games came out, or when the company was founded, and that's what we get. Because I think Pokemon as the games were fun, but Pokemon as the entity was made 2 years afterwards, because that's when you get Gold and Silver, some of the anime. That's when you get a lot of like the merchandise and stuff, right? So I don't know. Pokemon was just. He's right. Pokemon was just Red and Blue, right? That makes sense.
Right. Game Freak, or more accurately, Satoshi Tajiri and Ken.
My goats.
In 1998, 2 years later, Game Freak, Nintendo, and Creatures, the company that made the Pokemon trading card game, came together and co-founded the Pokemon Company. Since then and to this day, each of those three companies own 33% of the franchise that is Digimon. Sorry, Pokemon. Arguably one of the most advantageous business transactions of all time, with Pokemon now being, say it with me everybody, the world's largest franchise, about to top $100 billion in revenue.
Yeah.
That's almost double of the next highest franchise in Disney, and exactly 50 NBA jams.
Okay,
So
but listen, do you not realize how big of an entity you gotta be to be bigger than Disney? I remember my friend was like, I don't know what friend it was, but when I said that, they were like, you're lying, because that can't be true, because Disney has a whole bunch of like side things. But Disney is like the higher up is Disney. It's Disney, like Disney, and then it's under companies. So Pokemon as a company brings in more revenue than Disney. Like that's what that is. And he was so astounded by that, because he was just like, why? Because he only knows Pokemon for the games. I'm like, TCG, merchandise, everything. Clothing, anime, TV, all that. Like that's Pokemon. You got it. You know, like it's there. He just showed you a ditto futon that somebody most definitely bought. You know what I'm saying? And, and they exist.
You once again, and not for the last time, why do the games look like shit? They are the main thing that is Pokemon. The cards, merch, and anime, they all draw inspiration from each new video game release. The animes are animated beautifully. Even the spin-off underfunded anime.
Stop making these.
Like Pokemon.
Oh my! I'm gonna say y'all are gonna be in the comment section. Oh, I find these kind of enjoyable to watch. Stop making these, dude. Stop making these. I don't like when they make these because it's like you could have did something else with this, with the funding behind this or something.
Concierge, which has been highly praised for its cheerful atmosphere and its visuals. And I should know, I've watched it twice and I cried both times.
Oh my God.
Pokemon cards, some of them
It's that audience.
So beautiful that people take them and they put them in protective little tiny glass houses. And it's funny because those same people, when you mention how bad the games look, will start throwing stones in those same tiny glass houses. So can we have an honest conversation about why everything else Pokemon branded is of such high quality and production, but the video games are a laughingstock outside of the Pokemon fandom community? Yeah, pause. I'm gonna stop you right there, buddy. This video is sponsored by Nixie.
Whoa, I'm gonna stop you right there, buddy. No free promo. Hold on. You're not.
Have such a nice.
No. Hold on. We good off that. Thank you. You know what I'm saying?
Excited for the new game. They brought back Tepig. Pokemon fans will give you
there we go.
Excuses when you bring this up about how as long as the games are fun, the visuals don't matter. Yeah, I mean, that is inherently true. I mean, look at Witcher 3, the Switch version. That is and always has been Nintendo's own mentality. You know, as long as the game is fun, doesn't matter what it looks like. But how long are we going to use that Nintendo expression to excuse poor game development? Pokemon Legends Z. Oh, don't you leave that comment. Oh, but Game Freak are doing their bestest westest, and the game, it's not even out yet. Yeah, I know. I'm sure that impression of you definitely prevented the comment you were about to leave. It's not just about Z and A. It's about Game Freak's approach to video game development since they made the switch to the Switch. So we have a lot to look at. And in the words of Ash Ketchum himself,
you can't undo what's already been done, but you can face up to it.
That's an actual quote. See, I didn't.
Oh, that's hard.
You didn't believe.
Yo, I ain't gonna hold you, Ash. That's hard. That's hard as hell. Get that 10-year-old a degree or something. That's hard.
I gotta get ahead of this a little bit because I have talked about Pokemon graphics a bunch here on this channel, on my podcast, and whenever I bring it up, people often say the same things, and one of them is, he's not a true Pokemon fan.
I hate that. Bro, y'all don't understand. There's a humongous difference between being a Pokemon fan and a fan of Pokemon, right? You being either one is great. You have to be open to criticism. A lot of the times when y'all hear like people criticize these games and people get all whiny, like, oh my God, you're not a real fan. It's like, what does that even mean? I'm buying the same $60 game as you. How am I not a fan of the game? Oh, because I don't competitively breed my Pokemon. I don't shiny hunt like a weirdo. And I don't read the story. Which, funny enough, I did all three at one point. I kind of just read the story now. But there's a large majority of people that don't do any of those three things. And they're probably bigger fans of Pokemon than you and I. They'll buy anything Pokemon related. You know what I'm saying? That's the audience. The audience is the casual fan that doesn't do the after game stuff. They just play the main stuff and put the game down. They'll battle with their friends. They'll run around the world with their friends or whatever, and that's it. That's literally it. They're bigger fans than you and me. Because we can have conversations about this. They don't give a fuck. They're buying it. That's the reason why these games sell.
dialogue in Arceus, so you can't take his opinion seriously. I'm not sure how skipping this very bloated story correlates to my eyes functioning, but it seems worth it to try and get ahead of this, so I'm gonna let you know now, I am actually a Pokemon fan. I'm not super hardcore, like I haven't made it my whole identity. I don't have a tattoo, I don't own a Lucario fursuit.
I unfortunately do have a Pokemon tattoo. I unfortunately, y'all, if you've been a subscriber on the channel, you know, I unfortunately, no, I have two. I have the Pokemon, the logo for the Pokemon YouTube channel, and then I have the name of the YouTube channel tatted on me. It's bad. It's bad.
Where on weekends, look, I wish I had both of those things. One of my first games was Red. Who could forget playing Gold as a kid? And so many others. In fact, I've played pretty much every mainline Pokemon game. Never played Black and White because it was just that age where I was falling out of Pokemon before I decided to fall back in. And at this point now, I'm just waiting for a Black and White remake because everybody says it's the best one. The first time I
Okay, so my next question is, why haven't you gone back? Like, why haven't you could emulate? You could get a DS. What's the why haven't you? I understand the idea of wanting a remake, but it's like, yo, like these games, they still sell for like $60, $100 something online. Like you can go to a shop and you'll see them cost like $40. You know what I'm saying? They're still selling. Those games have aged really good, and it's really interesting to see how people like change in those games. I think a lot of people might like them. Personally, I think if you, because I too was one of those people. Where like Pokemon was starting to become one of those things where it was like a just for kids thing. And it was like, I want to say maybe like 13 to like 15 is when I was just like, I don't really care for Pokemon like that. I'll play them, but I don't care. I don't care. Right. And it was until I made the YouTube channel when X and Y started doing their little press runs or whatever that you can go back. Like this channel goes all the way back to 2013. And I remember X and Y had just got shown and I was on a different channel. And I remember just being like, oh, that's really, really cool. But there was a time period where there was no there was no images or whatever. It was just a trailer and that was it. And so I think, you know, everybody has at that time where Pokemon is like, you know, for kids, or Pokemon is like whatever. You start expanding your palette in terms of like gaming or whatever. And that's normal. You're right, but I don't know how I got back into it was because of YouTube. And I think that, like, you know, I don't know. I think there are plenty of times where like I've been like, Pokemon really and like that. But it's when I start playing other games where it's like, you know, Pokemon, while it is a one of a kind thing, you start seeing where Pokemon starts lacking in certain departments where other games will get criticized for. Like if we give Pokemon that luxury of being like a nostalgia trip that like, if a game came out and looked exactly like a Pokemon game and it wasn't a Pokemon game, we would literally shit on it. Like, that's what always kills me, right? You pay $60, $70 for a game, and if it looked or ran like a Pokemon game, you would literally clown that game. You'd be mad. You'd write paragraphs, dissertations. You would hate the game entirely. You would go back to GameStop or refund it or something like that. Pokemon doesn't get that same luxury. And that's where I come from, where it's like, why is that, you know?
The stuff I brought back was Pokemon merchandise. We even made sure to get a reservation at the Pokemon Cafe, and let me tell you, when Chef Pikachu came waddling out to ask me if I liked the meal he cooked, I almost wept like a baby. It was so wholesome. What I'm trying to say is I do love Pokemon. But if you were to put a gun to my head and ask me to name a single character in any Pokemon game outside of Professor Oak and my mom, you may as well pull the trigger. You think when I was a kid playing Red for the first time, I gave two squirts a piss about the story? No, I was too busy gambling on slots for a polygon and riding up and down this one shoreline because I wanted 100 Master Balls. Hell, while I was scripting this video, Kim sent me a text saying she just woke up from a nap dreaming about an old Pokemon toy she had where the Mewtwo had tits. We're locked in on Pokemon. Why does it have tits? I'm making this video because I do care. Because 25 million people is a lot of people to buy a video.
We're never getting good Pokemon games ever again. I need y'all to understand, these are, I think, are like the second or third highest selling Pokemon games. that aren't red and blue, and I think gold and silver. I think it's red and blue, then sun and moon, and then these, or I think it's these and then sun and moon. Whatever. We're never getting good Pokemon games again, bro. I give up.
But a lot more people bought games like Breath of the Wild.
That's true.
And Animal Crossing. And Zelda isn't even in that Wikipedia list of
That's
top
true.
grossing franchises, which means, yes, it's below NBA Jam. And remember when Breath of the Wild came out and no one would shut up about it, how it was a new, breathtaking, innovative, jaw-dropping, inspiring new video game? Don't we want that from something like Pokemon?
Yes.
I feel like these games always get a pass because they manage to sell so much, but it should be higher, shouldn't it?
Yes.
We as fans, do we not want the Breath of the Wild of Pokemon, or are we content?
Okay, but I do think Scarlet and Violet is like the closest thing to that. I think that, like, unfortunately, I'm gonna say this and y'all are gonna like attack me, but please let me land, right? I think Pokemon Go was the worst thing to happen to Pokemon. Now watch this. Since Pokemon Go, or maybe somewhere in the meeting room, I don't know if you've noticed this, but Pokemon has become more like a mobile game, right? Where like you see, like on Pokemon Go, they got the raids. We have raid dens. We have like things that get updated every other week or every other month or so with a Pokemon you can go play with. You have to make certain Pokemon for these type of events, whether they're not competitive. You know what I'm saying? They're not like busted mons, but there's certain gimmicks, there's certain Pokemon you got to use for certain things, typings or whatever, certain combinations of mons that can be used for these things. That's literally how those games work, how those mobile games work. You barely even get, like, it's free roaming, that's cool and all, but there's no scaling, there's no different teams per the scaling. There's nothing else. Like, Pokemon is getting to that point where it's like a streamlined mobile game that's just on a console. And at some point, we're going to be able to walk around with our friends 100% and do the exact same thing where we can go through the story together and do that with our friends. And we're going to be able to, like, I think Pokemon is going towards like that mobile MMO kind of feel without fully committing to it, to the point where like some of the ideas are going to be like half cooked and or half completed. Because there's ways like Sword and Shield could be made functionally better outside of like technical changes or whatever. But like, I see what they're trying to do. It just sucks that that's what it's coming down to. Because I know a lot of people were mad about, oh, the routes in Sword and Shield are empty. But hey, that wild area, you got like all these little like wishing star pieces, places you can put and have your friends join. You know, that's cool. I feel like that's where they're going. They're going more multiplayer, streamlined, mobile game-ish in that little area, but just putting in a thing. You still got to pay $50 or $5 a month or something for what? Pokemon Home and the Nintendo stuff? I think that's where they're going. And I think that, I think Pokemon Champions, you're going to need a Pokemon, on a Pokemon Bank, a Pokemon New Gen save, and then the Nintendo thing. That's like 3. You gotta buy the $60 game and the 2 free joints that you're gonna need the online subscription for. That's where we're headed, I think.
Okay, this guy's making some incredible points, and he has me completely sold, but I actually just watched his last podcast episode where he said some of this stuff in the episode. One of the top comments was, the games only make up 10% of Pokemon's total revenue, which... fan of the podcast, and I love him. I love that they left this comment because it also allowed me to get ahead of this one, because what the piss? 10% of $100 billion, by the way, is still around $10 to $15 billion just for the video games, which is a whole Grand Theft Auto franchise.
Which we got. Okay, so oh, I like that. So now it's okay, cool. The budget for these games, he's asking for the budget, like where the budget should be higher now. Like, what are we doing? Because GTA, I'll let him tell it.
And I would just like like to remind you again, something I've already said, the merch, the anime, the new cards, all of the new merch, those come from the video games. So if the video games currently are only making 10% of the revenue, imagine if we made the video games, good. That would then trickle down to all the new merch, plushies, and all of that, and boost those revenue and sales even more. I guess I just don't understand the argument that the Pokemon company makes too much money to try or bother with the video games anymore, when the video games are still making more money than 99% of the rest of the gaming industry. All right. Anyway, back to this chump. Let me get to the point. I know Pokemon fans hate when other Pokemon fans complain about how the Pokemon games look. And if you try complaining this time around about how Pokemon Z and A look, they'll say, but it looks so much better than Scarlet and Violet. And
it's supposed to.
But that's a really
it's supposed to.
low bar.
It's supposed to.
Are the ones that set that bar. This game isn't anywhere near the industry standard and looks.
Now, what I will say, hey, listen, what I will say, they need to go hire the guys that make that Pokemon Snap game and make a game the scale of a Legends Arceus or a Legends ZA or a Scarlet and Violet with those art style graphics or whatever. That would ideally be what people are looking for. That's ideally what people want to see. Like, I think that's what people want to see.
Worse than anything else Nintendo is doing, which is already being scrutinized for being behind the times. Saying that this is better than the previous amounts of terrible is like going to your job every day and just intentionally being the worst you could be. Just messing everything up. The worst employee this company has. But then like a year later, you actually start trying and you do a little bit better and expect to be praised for being slightly less shit. You could pick just about any first-party Nintendo game and compare it to ZA, even the soon-to-be re-released Wii U game, Xenoblade X. And it would be clear that this is not a Swish hardware issue, but an issue of a developer who is struggling to create games post the 3DS. So let's not do that. Let's not compare it to those other Nintendo games. Let's do what Pokemon fans like to do and only compare it to Pokemon's own games. A nice little echo.
Yo, I'm gonna say it, he cooking the dog piss out of y'all. Cause I know a couple of people in the comment section that be talking like this whenever I be going on my rants. And he giving y'all strokes. He cooking y'all, for real.
For us to play around in and see how our voice sounds. Hello? We saw in Scarlet and Violet that Game Freak struggles to create competent game worlds that aren't full of glitches, bugs, and low-resolution textures, terrible frame rates, and assets stuck together with spaghetti and crazy glue. You just blink at this game wrong and you'll be falling through the floor. But I think the biggest offender here is that resolution. At the time, fans said, well, at least it looks better than Sword and Shield. However, comparing Scarlet and Violet to the Pokemon ZA trailer, the new game does look a lot better at first glance. Now, I want to say to Game Freak's credit, looking back at their other Pokemon reveal trailers, all these trailers seem to be rendered within the game. They hide absolutely nothing about the way that their games look and play. So that gives us a very good, trustworthy bar that Pokemon Z and A is an in-game rendered trailer running on the hardware. And if this is true, I will say they've done a fantastic job at fixing resolutions and draw distances. All those jagged edges
I love
are
it.
completely gone. And I think
I love it. Listen, I as the person that cried to this trailer, I listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you put Pokemon Legends anything in front of me, I am biased. I'm gonna be so upfront with you. Legends Arceus is the best game on the Switch. Suck my balls if you disagree. It's the best Pokemon game on the Switch. My fault. I feel like that should be stated or whatever. And I think that, like, you know, I'm ready for this. Hopefully, because I know what I'm expecting, right? I know what I'm expecting with this, that it's at least more polished than the last two entries, but, you know, it's okay.
Why people look at these two images and think that this new one is so much better. But how did they do that? I think it's pretty clear if you really look at this, specifically the buildings, a way they managed to bring down those jagged edges is by just not having anything that would create a jagged edge. They've flattened out almost every texture and model, specifically all these very similar looking buildings throughout the city. In all 3 of the other Pokemon games on the Switch, Game Freak designed the buildings with intent and purpose. The architectural designs of the buildings, they had depth. They had balconies, awnings, brick, window sills, glass textures, concave.
I see where he's going. I see where he's going with this. Okay.
Designs, man. Scarlet and Violet, for example, was set in Spain, and they clearly took those buildings as inspiration and went to work sculpting them, and they would look beautiful if you could see them through the jank. But you know, at least the thought was there. Here, almost every building has the same window, just Control-C and Control-V'd all over it. It's honestly giving Lego. I mean, they're just—
Oh, that's crazy.
With stickers stuck to the front. It's also the same tactic they did use in Scarlet and Violet for the environments, and I broke this down in my review of that game. They took one small section of texture and just copy-pasted it everywhere, hoping you wouldn't look at it for 2 seconds and accidentally notice. Incredibly lazy game development, and completely voids all personality and life from a city that's based on a city that is so filled with personality and life. Despite some people thinking that this is Tokyo Tower, it's actually the Eiffel Tower, and this city bears resemblance to the city
Okay. Which one of you dumbass people think that's— never mind, my fault.
of Paris. In fact, if you take yourself on Google Street View and you plop yourself right about here, I think I found the street that the trailer is actually set on, which is pretty cool, and credit to Game Freak that I managed to do that, and then I could tell what they were going for. But where Paris had these beautiful iron metal balconies, in Game Freak's rendition of that, they have these beautiful iron metal balcony JPEGs. What? I'm actually quite speechless. This is not the way they did it in any of the other games. This is new. And also, Game Freak, by your own logic, if you were just going to copy paste it, you could have just made one balcony and then copy pasted that a bazillion times. Why this? I don't think they're even that lazy. I think there is something else going on here. In Scarlet and Violet, despite how intentional those buildings were, from a distance, or really even up close, but definitely from a distance, they look like the low resolutions and lack of any kind of anti-aliasing. They shimmer and shine, but like in the worst way. So Game Freak, not knowing how to fix this very basic issue, found yet another gameplay development workaround for Pokemon Z and A. Flat, lifeless buildings with a picture of what a nice building could look like glued to the front. Now you might say, does it really matter, Wood, what a building looks like in a video game? And I would say yes. If it looks like this, I'm gonna say something. But also, this whole game is set in a city. When you go to New York City and you want to take in the sights, what do you look at? Is it the rats in the street? Is it the weird people dancing on the train that you try really hard not to make eye contact with because you're scared? No. It's the buildings. I'm gonna be looking at these the whole time I play, and they look like this, but some of them have some sort of depth to them. But clearly this is also just one window design that has been copy and pasted several times. What are these windows supposed to be? Or even the ones next to them? Like, I don't really know what I'm looking at. But what I do know is my favorite kind of balcony JPEG is the balcony JPEG that has a flower JPEG on top of it. I mean, that just really ties the room together. But not a single window in this entire trailer has any kind of reflection at all, or presents itself as an actual window. They all just look like Game Freak Googled the word blue and used the first thing that came up in Google image results. Even these huge shop windows, which if we go back and we look at the actual Paris street, you can see a lot of these buildings have little storefronts under them. So this would be a really nice opportunity to fill this storefront window with a store. But nope. Just a JPEG. We even get a close-up of this building as we climb all the way up like the world's ugliest elevator. They're using a JPEG for the whole building, but they couldn't even use a high-quality JPEG. Like, they couldn't even render in the JPEG. Who is designing these? Oh, at least it looks better than the other Pokemon games, does it? does it? Because 6 years ago in Sword and Shield, the windows actually had reflections. They weren't true reflections. They didn't actually reflect anything that was happening, but it was serviceable and it got the point across. And honestly, looks pretty nice. But I guess this is yet another way that Game Freak found to pare down development, because they even did away with those in Scarlet and Violet. In fact, the only window I could find in the entire Scarlet and Violet game, and I had to ride around that sucker for way too long, by the way, I forgot how janky it was this one. And I don't even understand what the hell is going on up there. It's just very confusing. Yeah, hi, me again. Sorry, I'm filming this in the future after I recorded a ton more gameplay for Scarlet and Violet. I actually didn't remember how bad this truly was. These characters popping in and out seemingly at random. It's not even distance based. And by the way, when I say disappear, I literally mean disappear. You can't go and find them again. They're just erased from the game. This video isn't supposed to be about Scarlet and Violet, but my God. Also, I was recording footage for the video and I saw this, and I never noticed this before, but it's because I'm so obsessed with Windows right now. Another cheap tactic that Game Freak does in their game is they have this placeholder unrendered in city that looks terrible from a distance, but the placeholder city doesn't have lights in the windows. So when you get a little closer to the city, it pops and fully renders in the actual city, and because it's night, the lights all just turn on. They didn't even make an unrendered in.
I didn't even know this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't touched Scarlet and Violet since the game came out outside of Pokemon Complex or Compass. That's my PC. I wouldn't count that. You know what I'm saying? Anyway,
version with lights on for the nighttime, because why bother? But that window and subsequently the building that it's attached to brings me to another very good point. All three of these games have something in common. Well, graphics. So I guess two things. They all have one nice building. Each game has a central location building that looks night and day better than any other structure in the game. Like in Scarlet and Violet, it was the school, which looked fantastic. And then in Arceus, it was whatever that big building was in the village that they did stuff in. I don't know, I skipped the story. And my assumption here is that it's a tactic to kind of trick our brains into thinking the game actually looks nicer than it does, because the building that you might have gone to most frequently actually didn't look that bad. And for example, in Pokemon ZNA, we get in this trailer a shot of the main character picking out of the 3 Pokemon, and there is this, quite frankly, gorgeous structure behind him. Just wonderful stonework, designs, there's arches, there's depth, vines and grass. There's possibly even a reflective window in this sucker. This clearly demonstrates that Game Freak can design buildings like this. They don't though. They either just, I guess, don't care about the rest of the game, or maybe they don't have the time, maybe they're being rushed, or maybe it's all of these extra designs and details just makes the game look a little worse because it's more things to render. I mean, God forbid we render in a JPEG of a building, let alone an actual building. They don't want to bog the game down with anything that might hurt the overall presentation. A great example here of what I'm looking for, bare minimum, from these games is to look at Scarlet and Violet again, but in 4K. The low resolution of this game on the Switch is not the Switch's fault. These games are very basic. It's just that Game Freak doesn't know how to optimize or build a 3D world. That's not a controversial thing to say. We've seen it countless times in other games on the console, and I know the console can't do 4K, but this is what the game looks like when you fix the resolution. Oh, that didn't really help my point. No, I'm kidding. It's a night and day difference.
No, that's different.
See what
hey,
designed. And this is probably
this
what
game.
what
like. People don't understand is this game, like, and it's like if it's one of those updated games, will look amazing
on their end when they made the game on a PC before they had to scale it down somehow for the Switch. So rather than trying to figure this out, they just took out anything in the game that would look bad in low resolution rather than fixing the resolution. If you look at the streets of Pokemon ZNA as a whole, it gets its point across and you get what they're going for. But as soon as you look at any one element on its own, the flaws start to show. The fact that they still can't design anything with a high enough poly count to actually make it round, that no NPC in this game has a shadow. And that goes for most objects too, except this awning. Based on everything else in this picture, why does it even have a shadow? Yeah, I just wanted to take one more look at this awning with you guys. Why is it here? There's plenty of shop fronts, even in this same image and other images, that don't have awnings. What is the point of the awning? Why is it only on 3 of the 5 windows? What is it covering? There's no tables, there's no chairs.
Okay.
Also, why is the awning?
I was just gonna ask that, but I had stopped myself because I was like, I don't want to look slow. But now that I'm watching it, I'm like, I feel so seen, bro. Because I swear to God, I was literally just gonna ask the exact same question. Like, why is that there?
Like half a millimeter thick. One gust of wind and that sucker's gone. When Sword and Shield revealed and I had an issue with the trees, I became the tree guy for a minute. Everyone was like, what is the problem with the trees? Who cares about the trees? I feel like this time I'm going to be the window guy or the awning guy, crashing out over windows and an awning. And once again, it does seem like NPCs are incapable of moving around the game world. They just stand there lifelessly. I mean, this was the case in Pokemon Arceus as well. Even 60 hours into my playthrough, this old lady is still sweeping that one spot. I'm sorry, honey. If it ain't clean now, it probably ain't gonna be. In Scarlet and Violet, there were some characters that had animations, like a little jig, and it looks like all those have been stripped out. And then there were even a few NPCs that would walk around. But due to the game having absolutely terrible draw distances and crazy pop in and pop out, those characters would disappear and reappear like ghosts. And Game Freak, rather than try and figure out how to not have that happen, decided to glue their feet to the ground tighter than they glued the JPEGs to the buildings. Of course, that one is an assumption because they haven't played the full game. Maybe they do move around. A lot of this is based on just the trailer, and I feel like some people are gonna say, well, you haven't even played the full game yet. And again, this trailer is rendered in game. I'm assuming based on all their other trailers, and this is what they've shown us, and I'm literally only talking about what I'm seeing in this trailer. I'm sure I'll find a whole piss of things once I start playing the game to complain about. But why wait? How about the absolutely no ground animations for these Sandiles who look more like they're glitching through the floor than swimming through the dirt? This few second shot right here is absolutely insane to me. The Pokemon and the people are fully rendered in, but nothing else in the shot is. The floor is blurry, the brick is blurry, and that's before we even talk about the fact this is a moving shot and every frame of the animation has the floor down here glitching on the wall, and this is what they chose to show us? And don't get me wrong, the Pokemon look fantastic, the moves and the animations of that, the battling, really flashy. I even like the way the UI looks. It's sleek, it's nice. And some people will say, it's a Legends game. It's a spin-off of the main series. It's not supposed to look as nice. But then that goes against the people that are saying that it looks better than Scarlet and Violet, which was a main series game. So which is it? Arceus used a more...
Pokemon Legends is a main series game. Everybody, can we please stop saying that? Pokemon Legends, it may not be the Pokemon formula that you're used to, but it is a main series game. It's a main series game, y'all. It's a main series game, y'all. Please. Game Freak works on these games. They're not spinoffs. They're main series games, bro. Oh my God.
Cell-shaded style of visual, which I think actually helped hide a lot of the imperfections. When that game came out, I don't think I really even complained about the way the game looked. I actually kind of liked it. This new Legends game, though, has seemingly dropped that, and they've moved towards the more mainline series art direction. It's not cell-shaded. You know, I struggle to call this realistic, but I guess you know what I mean. And this game, at face value, does look better than Scarlet and Violet. Again, because they stripped out anything and made everything flat to trick your brain into thinking that it actually does look good when it really doesn't. But there are some things, to be fair, that legitimately do look a lot nicer. The inside of buildings here have a much more warm and high resolution feel, like it feels cozy. I took some examples from other games set in similar office style buildings. It's very clear that the new one doesn't look as bad. Another thing that stood out to me immediately is the grass textures. I don't think the grass in ZNA looks particularly pleasant, but you compare it to Scarlet and Violet.
Looks way better.
What were they thinking? It's like a sea of Lamborghini green. Like, it is neon. It's probably as green as the green screen I'm standing on. Put me in the grass, Zach. Hello! This was a whole ass game we were handed just a few years ago that we all paid $60 for, complete with 12 FPS gameplay and more bugs than under a rock in my garden. I guess if ZA is good enough to make people finally look back at Scarlet and Violet and realize that they were ripped off in 2022, I mean, I'll take it. I made a video about that game and people were equally upset with me for that. I feel like throughout this video, I've been really trying to get ahead of anything that people will try to say to invalidate my opinion that the game looks bad. And I do feel like it's a losing battle. I mean, on my podcast recently, I pointed out that the games still look pretty rough. And one of the top comments said I was wrong and that they actually really like the way the game looks so far because Tech Pig is back. And yeah, he is. People even call me that I'm moving the goalpost for Game Freak. I'm not sure where the goalpost is for Game Freak in my mind, but I'm telling you now, they've never even been in the same zip code as that motherfucker. I can't say it's better than before. I will concede to at least it being different. And it is different. This is not how they've ever designed buildings before. That is very different. But in doing that, they have managed to clean up the resolutions and that weird jank that we saw in previous games, and some people might actually prefer that trade-off. But I'm just here asking, in 2025, why can we not have both? I'll apologize for this, but sometimes I wonder if it's me, my ADHD, or whatever is wrong with me mentally, where I hyperfixate on something. But when I look at these buildings, or if you want to call these textures, or this face mask, you know, I get offended. I can't help but stare at them the whole time, and they're just preventing me from being able to fully immerse myself in the experience and feel like that 10-year-old boy that would just want to go around catching Pokemon and ignoring everything the adults are saying, which I still do even now in real life. I ignore everything people are. That's probably the it's ADHD. Ultimately, if the game is fun, I agree the game is fun, but I can't help but feel gaslit that this is acceptable game development from Game Freak at this point. There is no reason for their games not to be in a better place. Not to be in the same or better place than games like Mario, Zelda, Pikmin, Xenoblade, or any other Nintendo IP. Stubbornness. It has to be. It's focusing in on that tight release window, since despite the games being the main source of fandom, the merchandise is where the real money is. It honestly, it feels like we're being taken advantage of. It offends me. Does it not offend you? Are you not offended? They just take advantage of Pokemon fans, knowing full well they can phone in the games and will buy them anyway because it's Pokemon. You love Pokemon, right? Why don't you buy this Wiglet plushie and this Victory Bell plushie, and please don't, whatever you do, don't combine them. There is 200 people working at Game Freak, which prospectively is not a lot of people. Studios like Rockstar, Naughty Dog, Bethesda, they have thousands of employees. I think Game Freak should be on these studios' level, if not a little higher.
It should be higher.
Muddy the waters with all of these employees.
It should 1,000% be higher. It should. It should. Cause some game companies can't even fathom making the amount of money the games bring in for Pokemon, and it should 1,000% have at least like 3,000 or 4,000 people at their beck and call making their games, especially if they want to release these games at a high quality in every single year or every 2 years. Like, you should be making these games better. You should be. That's not crazy to say that. It's not nuts to say that.
I understand and I respect keeping a team small, but 200 at this point might be a bit too small, don't you think? But even Xenoblade's developer Monolith Studios has 300 developers, and their games only sell a couple million units,
which sucks. Y'all should be listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. Y'all should be if you're not on Xenoblade, I don't know. something wrong with you. I might have to stop. I say that, and I only ever played and beat Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I'm still in the beginning of Xenoblade Chronicles 1. I don't know, those games. I think I've hit a point in my life where like those large games or those games that I gotta put like hella hours into. I'm like, I don't know if I'm falling out of love with them or like I'm like, you know, I just don't have it in me no more to like commit. I don't know. It's weird, but you know, it's alright.
Millions. Something's not adding up. And Xenoblade, with even just 100 extra people, manages to make games that look like this. It's almost like having some extra people on board helped. And it's not just beautiful visuals that the Xenoblade team are putting together either. It's crazy over-the-top animated cutscenes and full voice acting. Breath of the Wild also had a 300-person team, and it took them 4 years to make that game. Mario Odyssey had 360 people.
We need more people on the team.
3 years.
We need more people on the team.
Game Freak is
But it's also who you have on a team, because if you like see like the names of some of the people involved, some of these guys share, but then there's some people who are like exclusively on certain teams, and it's like, yo, these people might have been like key players, you know what I'm saying, in this entire process.
But they are in no way underfunded. I want to touch on something I said earlier, and that's that people always say, well, the games still sell. And yes, they still sell. They're one of the best-selling game franchises of all time. But when you look
they
at
are the best
prospectively, and how many millions, if not a billion people, love the property and the franchise that is Pokemon, why aren't more people buying the games? Yeah, 20 million's a lot. So's 40 million. So's 50. You know, if some of these other franchises like Animal Crossing can break 50, something that most people probably didn't even know what that was when New Horizons came out, why can't the world's largest franchise that literally any grandma could probably point at a Pikachu and say its name, why are they only selling 20 million? Maybe because the games actually aren't that good. It's just that a lot of us are holding on to a dream. I've played Pokemon.
I am.
Throughout
I can admit that.
And ironically, as I've said before, they really struggle to evolve. We didn't even need great graphics back in the day. When I was a kid, it was black and white and little itty bitty sprites. And I still had an absolute blast.
Yeah.
But at this point, I would almost rather they just go back to doing sprites, because that's seemingly what they do best. Desperate for answers, I thought maybe ChatGPT would know. And I asked her. And the answer she gave me was so painfully, abundantly obvious that it was staring me straight in the face the whole time, and I just couldn't see it. This is what ChatGPT said.
Pokemon sells regardless of quality. Even when Pokemon games launch with issues, they still break record sales. Game Freak may not feel the need to expand drastically if their current model continues to be profitable. Scarlet and Violet sold over 22 million copies despite performance issues, so the financial incentive to increase staff significantly isn't there.
She then goes on to say,
could Game Freak expand? Yes, they could hire more developers to improve technical quality, but their collaborative approach, fast turnaround, and cost efficiency seem to be priorities over AAA scale productions. Unless Pokemon fans stop buying the games, Game Freak probably won't feel pressured to grow too much.
And she's right. I'm gonna buy the new game because I'm a giant hypocrite. And
I'm not
part
shit.
of
Hey, listen, I'm Luffy with the games. I don't give a damn. I'm Luffy with the games. I don't care. I don't give a damn. You're not finna sit here and make me pay no damn $60 for that? For a game I'm gonna play once or twice? No. I'm not doing that stupid shit.
I am the problem, but at least I can accept it. You know, I guess I could have just asked ChatGPT that to begin with and saved days.
But you know what though? Even if I don't buy the Pokemon games, I make Pokemon content. I'm still a part of the problem as well. I can admit that, you know?
This script, but I'm gonna ask ChatGPT to end this video, and I'm gonna present it the way they wrote it. Plagiarism. Is it?
At the end of the day, Pokemon games may always look a little rough around the edges. But hey, as long as they keep selling like rare candies on the black market, Game Freak have no reason to change. So until the day that Pikachu's cheeks has RTX lighting and a wild Bidoof doesn't drop to 5 FPS, we'll just have to accept that the Pokemon franchise is the biggest in the world, running off of nostalgia and a dream. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.
Man, that was a great video. We've been reacting for like 50 minutes. That's great. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Yeah, this is a good video. This is great. Let me know in the comments below if you guys agree with anything he said, or if you guys feel a way how about anything he says, or if you guys want to add on to what everything he says, or argue anything he said in the video. Or me, like, let me know if you guys have anything, what I'm saying? Hey, you feel me? Hey, this was beautiful. I love his content a lot. It's very, very insightful. I feel like I relate in a lot of ways, but this was good. Leave a like and a comment on both the videos, this video and the one in the description. And with that being said, thank you all for watching. I'll talk to you on the next one. Bye. Love you guys.